After obtaining the black pendant inside the bloody pyramid, Luo Feng examined it carefully. Its material was almost identical to the cyan keepsake, and it was carved with a strange nine-fanged beast whose fiery eyes made it seem like the king of darkness. He realized that the pendant represented the black secret space. Since the keepsake had remained intact despite enduring the terrifying gravitational forces inside Universe Boat, forces capable of tearing apart pinnacle true treasures, he became even more convinced that the secret space was extraordinary. Luo Feng speculated that treasures left behind by great beings from the first universe era might still be hidden there. As many experts preferred sealing their valuables away rather than letting later generations obtain them. He especially hoped that 5 Chaos Master had left treasures inside the black space. The black, cyan, and silver keepsakes each corresponded to different secret spaces. Since the life imprint left by 5 Chaos Master on the black keepsake had already been weakened by endless years of exposure to gravity, Luo Feng successfully erased it and refined the keepsake, making it his own. Meanwhile, the bloody pyramid landed on a layer of icy green water within the ninth abyss. The environment was extremely dangerous and poorly documented, as even Jia Fanzi's map contained only a tiny fraction of the abyss's secrets. Knowing he would remain here for some time, Luo Feng carefully began exploring the area on his own. Elsewhere in Universe Ocean, the third true master and sixth true master of the Divine Eye clan traveled toward Universe Boat. Furious that 5 Chaos Master had suffered a loss and that other races were mocking their clan, they decided to use this incident to display the might of the Divine Eye clan. They believed that even the two Holy Lands feared them and that any Universe Supreme Master who interfered, especially the human race's huge axe creator, would be punished. They were confident because the Divine Eye clan possessed 7 Universe Supreme Masters and many ancient inheritances from the lands of Extremis. At the same time, huge axe creator was making his way out of Tilted Peak sector. Wielding his enormous ancient axe, he forcefully cut through regions where teleportation was impossible and finally escaped. Knowing that the Divine Eye clan would act aggressively due to the approaching end of their era, Huge Axe decided to use this opportunity to establish his own prestige just as Teacher Origin once had. Filled with confidence and battle intent, he immediately set off for Universe Boat. Deep within the ninth abyss, Luo Feng continued exploring while using Golden Country and Star Tower. However, most of the abyss could not be detected by his methods, forcing him to rely on direct observation. After a day of searching, he discovered that the abyss was unimaginably dangerous. Even top-tier palace true treasures could survive only minutes there, and pinnacle palace true treasures would not last more than a day. Fortunately, Star Tower, being a supreme true treasure, could withstand the environment. What puzzled Luo Feng was that such a dangerous place contained almost no naturally born treasures. Normally, greater danger meant greater opportunities. Yet countless experts who had explored the abyss had all concluded that no treasures were born there and that any valuables found had been left behind by dead experts. As Star Tower slowly advanced through the abyss, Luo Feng suddenly noticed a black object in the distance. Drawing closer, he realized it resembled one of the black scales from Extermination Godly Armor. Excited, he directed Star Tower into the dangerous region and used the power of Golden Country to seize the object. After retrieving it, he confirmed that it was indeed a scale from Extermination Godly Armor. Delighted by this discovery, Luo Feng concluded that if one scale was here, the remaining scales must be somewhere nearby as well. Luo Feng obtained a black scale about the size of a wash basin. Although it felt slightly cold, it emitted an intimidating aura. He knew that the legendary Extermination Godly Armor, which had always belonged to 5 Chaos Master, was considered the most powerful treasure beneath a supreme true treasure, since no one besides 5 Chaos Master had ever possessed it. All knowledge about its true abilities was based only on rumors. Even so, its value was greater than that of ordinary strange objects, and Luo Feng became determined to obtain it. He immediately infused his divine power into the scale. Because the scale had drifted through the dangerous deep abyss for a long time and had lost nearly all of 5 Chaos Master's life imprints, Luo Feng easily left his own imprint and became its new master. However, no information appeared after the recognition process. He guessed that the scale was only a tiny fragment of the complete armor and could not function independently. Luo Feng then began searching the deep abyss, using the Golden Kingdom and Star Tower. He carefully scanned the dangerous region and quickly found more and more scales. Although the number of scales increased steadily, none of them provided any information about the armor. At the same time, in the Divine Eye clan's first universe, 5 Chaos Masters suddenly sensed something unusual. He realized that the life imprints he had left on the scattered scales were disappearing one after another. This made him suspect that other great beings had entered the 9th level of Deep Abyss and were finding the scattered pieces of extermination godly armor. He reported the matter to First True Master, who understood that someone had already gotten ahead of them. Soon afterward, Third True Master and Sixth True Master received the same information. Knowing that others were gathering the armor fragments, they became anxious and immediately burned their divine power to travel toward Deep Abyss as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Luo Feng continued his frantic search. He transformed into a giant golden beast and searched every possible area. After more than a month, he had collected 182.900 scales. At that moment, a dramatic change occurred. All the scales suddenly flew together and assembled into a gigantic black wristguard. The wristguard immediately attached itself to Luo Feng's arm and finally transmitted some information into his mind. From this information, Luo Feng learned that the armor's true name was the Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor. Extermination Godly Armor was merely the name given to it by 5 Chaos Master. The wristguard itself was only a minor component and provided little information. But its extraordinary name made Luo Feng even more curious about the complete armor's true capabilities. Although the wristguard's abilities were limited, treasures of this level were still comparable to Luo Feng's Star Tower and Silver Wings in his hands, since he could not yet fully unleash the power of supreme true treasures. More importantly, after obtaining the wristguard, he finally gained a faint summoning sense from the remaining scales. Following this summoning, Luo Feng's search speed increased dramatically. He soon discovered even more scales, including golden scales that belonged to the armor's right arm, while the rest of the armor was black. After another 32 days, he had gathered 6.920.021 scales. Roughly 80% of the entire Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor. However, many connecting pieces were still missing, leaving the armor incomplete and preventing its secret engravings from fully functioning. Then, when the 6.920.021 street scale recognized him as its master, another major transformation occurred. The wristguard, battle boots, and armor pieces all began assembling rapidly. An overwhelming and terrifying aura erupted from them, continuously attacking Luo Feng's willpower. Fortunately, after enduring the terrifying pressure within the White Wing's space, Luo Feng was able to resist it. Moments later, a half-completed Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor floated before him, marking another crucial step toward obtaining the legendary treasure. Luo Feng successfully refined the half-finished Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor, a treasure second only to supreme true treasures. Ancient information flowed into his mind, revealing that the armor possessed extraordinary abilities. It could weaken soul attacks to 1/100th of their original power and reduce material attacks to 100,000th, making it even more precious than the Force armor. The armor consisted of 8.999.999 black scales that could transform into various shapes and serve as a spiritual force weapon for long-range combat, while its golden right claw was an exceptionally powerful close combat weapon. However, the armor had a dangerous special ability known as Crazy Demon. As the user's mind became more synchronized with the armor, they would gradually become increasingly violent and could eventually lose all reason, forgetting everything except the urge to fight. Although this state generated a mental shockwave, its offensive value was limited, making the ability more dangerous than useful. Luo Feng nevertheless accepted the armor because of its overwhelming defensive and offensive capabilities. Examining the armor's engravings, Luo Feng discovered various patterns related to defense and combination techniques, while the engravings on the golden right claw were far more profound, rivaling those of Shi Wu Wing though still inferior to Star Tower. Since powerful enemies were approaching, he had no time to study them and instead focused on collecting the remaining scattered scales. After half a month, the third true master and sixth true master of the Divine Eye clan rapidly entered the abyss. Determined to reclaim the extermination godly armor and other treasures, they confidently descended into the ninth abyss, prepared to fight even other universe supreme masters, as they trusted the profound techniques their clan had mastered from ancient engravings. Meanwhile, deep within the ninth abyss, Luo Feng had already gathered 8.999.993 scales, leaving only 6 missing. By analyzing the distribution of the scales, he deduced 9 possible locations for the final pieces and began searching the remote edge regions of the abyss. He reflected on the immense power of Shi Wu Wang, wondering how incredible it would become once all 6 wings were gathered. The 2 Divine Eye Clan experts also found fragments of true treasures, confirming they were close to the remaining scales and possibly close to Luo Feng himself. Luo Feng, sensing growing danger, refrained from using Golden Country because it would expose his location. Over 9 days, he found 4 more scales, leaving only 2 unfound. He estimated that searching the final 3 remote regions would take another half-month and hoped to complete the armor before being discovered. 3 days later, while cautiously continuing his search, Luo Feng received an unexpected message through the communication token given by his teacher. Sitting Mountain Guest. To Luo Feng's shock, his teacher had already entered the ninth abyss, secretly tracked the 3rd and 6th true masters, and asked for Luo Feng's precise location. Although Sitting Mountain Guest had previously claimed he would not interfere, he came personally because he knew Luo Feng could never escape the abyss with Star Tower alone. Deeply moved by his teacher's actions, Luo Feng immediately described his location, and Sitting Mountain Guest replied that he was on his way. After learning that Luo Feng had fallen into deep abyss, Sitting Mountain Guest immediately rushed to help him. However, to avoid being detected by the 2 true masters within deep abyss, he could not travel faster than 100 times the speed of light and needed nearly 6 days to reach Luo Feng. Realizing he still had time to search for more scales of the Crazy Demon Extermination godly armor, Luo Feng changed their meeting location to a closer domain and continued his exploration. 6 days later, Luo Feng had searched 3 more domains without success and was left with only 2 remaining. Although disappointed, he was greatly relieved knowing his teacher was about to arrive and felt touched that Sitting Mountain Guest had come to rescue him so quickly. Following his teacher's instructions, he flew to a smooth triangular mountain peak, where a seemingly ordinary rock transformed and opened a tiny cave entrance. Luo Feng entered with Star Tower and discovered an immense inner world hidden inside the rock, filled with countless lifeforms and miniature worlds. When Sitting Mountain Guest saw the black armor Luo Feng was wearing, he immediately recognized it as the Extermination godly armor and, after examining it closely, correctly identified its true name as the Crazy Demon Extermination godly armor. Luo Feng was shocked because almost nobody should have known its real identity. Sitting Mountain Guest explained that he had encountered unique opportunities in the past and had learned of the armor's existence long ago. He then warned Luo Feng about the armor's greatest danger. The more one entered the crazy demon state, the stronger the armor became. But if its user completely lost self-awareness and entered an absolute crazy demon state, they would permanently lose autonomous consciousness unless another powerful being woke them up quickly. Fortunately, a sufficiently strong will, comparable to that of a universe supreme master, could prevent this loss of control. Luo Feng gratefully accepted the warning and explained that the armor remained incomplete because he still lacked the final 2 scales, which he believed were hidden within the last 2 unexplored domains. Sitting Mountain Guest immediately offered to accompany him. On the 3rd day of searching, Luo Feng suddenly sensed a powerful summoning coming from a particular direction. They traveled there aboard Sitting Mountain Peak, the extraordinary treasure personally refined by Sitting Mountain Guest. He explained that although it was not technically a supreme true treasure, it was perfectly suited to him, indestructible, and nearly equivalent to one in his hands. He also proudly claimed that no one in the universe ocean could match his abilities in refining treasures. Eventually, they reached an endless layer of frozen earth. Luo Feng could clearly sense that the final 2 scales were directly beneath them. Yet the ground was completely solid and indestructible, with no visible entrance. Even Sitting Mountain Guest admitted that no one had ever broken through this frozen layer and could not understand how the scales had ended up below it. For 2 entire days they searched in vain. Just as Luo Feng was becoming increasingly frustrated, Sitting Mountain Guest finally discovered the secret. He declared that the frozen earth was an extremely mysterious place and that perhaps fewer than 3 beings across the entire universe ocean and all reincarnation eras could uncover its secrets. Confident in his mastery of treasure refining, he prepared to open the way. Sitting Mountain Peak suddenly expanded enormously and descended onto the frozen ground, releasing countless rays of light that transformed into intricate secret engravings. Soon, a gigantic diagram of secret patterns spread across billions of kilometers of the endless frozen earth, revealing the hidden mystery beneath. The engraving on the permafrost suddenly surged, and the Cyan Mountain disappeared through a special transportation technique. Sitting Mountain Guest explained that it worked somewhat like the portals inside Star Tower, except it transferred directly to a specific location. He also revealed that very few beings in all three universe eras and the two Holy Lands could understand this technique, and even many Universe Supreme Masters could not comprehend it. In his opinion, Universe Boat itself was an incredibly magical true treasure, far beyond any known supreme true treasure, and its crafted appearance suggested it had been created by an unimaginably advanced civilization. After the transportation ended, they arrived in a quiet and beautiful independent space containing a giant lake and a small island filled with ancient stone palaces. Luo Feng immediately sensed the two missing scales beneath the lake. Sitting Mountain Guest believed the scales had somehow fallen into the gigantic Ice Mountain domain and been transported here through a mysterious portal. Without wasting time, Luo Feng entered the freezing waters inside the Bloody Pyramid and quickly located the scales. Using a giant golden hand formed from golden light, he successfully retrieved them and returned to his teacher. The two scales instantly recognized Luo Feng as their master. The extermination godly armor disassembled into its 8.999.999 scales before reforming around him. As the armor recombined, Luo Feng was amazed by its intricate design, which perfectly integrated defensive, long-range, and close combat techniques. He realized that its creator must have been an extraordinary existence. After wearing the armor, its appearance changed into silver, making Luo Feng look entirely different. Sitting Mountain Guest remarked that even 5 Chaos Master would not recognize him. However, he pointed out that the crazy demon extermination godly armor had suffered slight damage while being used as a palace-type true treasure and originally came from Lava Ocean. Confident in his craftsmanship, he offered to repair it, claiming that he was likely the only being in Universe Ocean capable of repairing such a treasure. Before beginning the repairs, Sitting Mountain Guest suggested exploring the island, believing it had once belonged to a great being. He explained that in the distant past, before the two Holy Lands existed and before Universe Boat became one of the 3 lands of Extremis, Universe Boat had an owner. The black, green, and silver keepsakes each corresponded to independent spaces. After landing on the island, they found it relatively small and covered with ancient stone palaces carved directly from the island itself. The walls contained murals depicting giant boats flying through the sky, battles between powerful beings, headless corpses floating in space, and countless creatures bowing in worship. The images seemed to tell the history of an ancient and powerful civilization, and the emotions contained within the carvings affected Luo Feng's mind. Luo Feng was deeply shocked and wondered what kind of civilization could have built a treasure like Universe Boat. Sitting Mountain Guest replied that no one knew which universe era this civilization belonged to, since Universe Boat had already been broken before the two Holy Lands appeared. He explained that many powerful techniques, including his own methods of crafting true treasures, had been obtained through studying ancient ruins and civilizations. The two Holy Lands and even the 7 true masters of the Divine Eye clan had also gained knowledge from ancient inheritances and mysterious places. When Luo Feng mentioned that no one had ever met the ancestors of the two Holy Lands, Sitting Mountain Guest revealed that this was a secret known only to Universe Supreme Masters and advised him not to think too deeply about such mysteries until he reached that level himself. The two continued deeper into the palaces, observing more carvings that depicted celebrations, wars, and mighty leaders, all of which reinforced the image of a once glorious and mysterious civilization. Eventually, they reached the central chamber, where they saw a giant wall covered in ancient characters. Although Luo Feng could not read the script, he instinctively understood its meaning. The message was filled with overwhelming anger and regret. Its author lamented that everything had been a terrible mistake, that an enormous price had been paid only to end in death, and that even achieving a breakthrough had ultimately led to nothing but destruction and countless deaths. The emotions within the words were so intense that both Luo Feng and Sitting Mountain Guest were left stunned. The mysterious words carved on the stone walls carried overwhelming emotions and willpower. making Luo Feng feel as if he were caught in a violent storm while hearing the roar of an ancient being lamenting that everyone had died and that no one could escape destruction. After recovering, Luo Feng realized that the being who left those words must have been unimaginably powerful. He speculated that many true treasures scattered throughout the universe ocean might have originated from an ancient civilization that had long been destroyed. Sitting Mountain Guest revealed that the creator of those words was stronger than himself and stronger than almost every universe supreme master. Perhaps comparable only to the original ancestors of the two Holy Land universes. Despite such strength, that being had still met a tragic end. He then reflected on the uncertain future of all races. Since even civilizations that survived for countless reincarnation eras could eventually disappear. Luo Feng, however, remained optimistic. He believed that as long as there was even a small hope, one should continue striving forward. He declared that if no path existed, he would create one himself, pointing out that others had already achieved unprecedented accomplishments before. Sitting Mountain Guest was pleased by Luo Feng's determination and remarked that the vigor of youth was very different from the mentality of ancient experts who had lost their passion over endless years. He even joked that one day he might need Luo Feng's help. The two then continued exploring the island, which was strangely silent and devoid of life or treasures, containing only endless palaces. Eventually, Sitting Mountain Guest discovered a massive palace courtyard containing a gigantic stone wall covered with an intricate and mysterious diagram of secret engravings. The moment Luo Feng looked at it, his consciousness was pulled into a vision where countless life forms knelt and worshipped while repeatedly chanting, "Devil Split." Sitting Mountain Guest awakened him and explained that the stone wall contained a legacy left behind by an ancient existence. Even he could only understand a tiny fraction of it. He directed Luo Feng to another wall nearby, where the same great being had left his final words. The message revealed that the being had finally achieved a breakthrough and created his greatest technique. But it was already too late because death was imminent and everyone around him had already perished. The diagram on the wall represented his ultimate achievement and lost knowledge from the peak of his power. Sitting Mountain Guest explained that this was not the first such monument he had discovered. Across the three dangerous lands, there were relics left by ancient super beings from countless reincarnation eras ago. Some contained valuable inheritances, while others did not. In this case, the being had merely wanted to prove his achievements rather than leave a proper inheritance. Since he provided only one incomparably profound diagram instead of a complete cultivation system. Although warned not to, Luo Feng continued studying a tiny corner of the diagram. He became completely absorbed by its structure, which seemed entirely different from the known laws and fusion laws. It felt more fundamental and mysterious, as if the universe itself were merely a basic particle in a much greater system. When Sitting Mountain Guest woke him again, Luo Feng discovered that he had been studying the diagram for more than 3 days without realizing it. He explained that although he could never fully comprehend such a profound legacy, it had shown him that his studies of secret engravings had stagnated at the universe night level for too long and that this might be his opportunity to break through. Sitting Mountain Guest agreed and revealed that during those 3 days he had also gained some understanding. He then displayed 5 major secret engraving diagrams that he had derived from the original wall, each possessing only 1/1000th of the power of the lost knowledge but still far beyond the miniature universe diagram. He offered these diagrams to Luo Feng as stepping stones to help him comprehend the ancient legacy. Finally, Sitting Mountain Guest urged Luo Feng to leave behind a divine power body on the island to continue studying the engravings in safety because a major disturbance was occurring outside. He sensed that universe supreme masters were about to clash and suggested that even the human race's huge axe creator might be involved. The two immediately prepared to leave and witness the coming battle.